So Steady. Oh, here I am. Hi, everyone. It's Stacy with So Steady. We are so excited to be here with everyone today. We've got another amazing live for you. This is coming to you from Shanna Rendon, who has taken that back-to-back template and creating a masterful quilt design using the instructions both from Leonie West along with the instructions from Donna McCauley to create that gorgeous orange peel design. Now, I've been super excited for this class because I've tried doing this design on my own and I get lost. So I think that this is a beautiful design, and I think that there's a very easy way to do this without breaking thread, and I know Shanna has mastered it. So she is going to be sharing that amazingness with us today. And then a couple of housekeeping things. We've got some really cool stuff happening in the next couple of weeks and even in the next couple of days. First and foremost, today and today only, we are launching the second box for the Sarah Diddy creative collection, and her box is absolutely gorgeous. What I love about Sarah is that she has super bright designs. A lot of her templates are very, very long arm friendly, which just means that they work great for long arm, but obviously they work great for domestic as well. She's got beautiful fabric. She makes sure, she's a fabric designer for Moda. And so the fabric that you're getting in that is high quality, gorgeous fabric. She's sharing 3 fat quarters of that in this new box. She's got a gorgeous practice panel. She is just truly a beautiful designer. So I definitely would love for you to be part of that launch as well. And that's happening today at 1 o'clock right here. So, well, not on this link. There's a new one. So I'm going to post a link to be able to win that box, which is going to be happening here again. The live will happen today, and then we'll be picking a winner next week to win the box. So just make sure you click the link to enter to win that box too. I think you're going to love it. And then tomorrow we have Pam coming on, and she's going to be doing her first Friday with Pam. Monday, we've got Donnell coming. She's going to be doing her first Odd Mondays with Donnell. And then we've got Kathy doing her regular Tuesday. We've got another Wednesday with Kathy and another Wednesday with our 10 a.m. or our 1 p.m. Wednesdays that we usually have with our Elevate Club Box classes. So we're just having all kinds of fun, guys. Keep joining us, keep learning and enjoying all the amazing quilt designs and inspiration we can do with together. And again, this is the Elevate Club Box class. So that just means that whether you're a class member or not, a club member or not, we have provided instruction tools and inspiration that are inside of your box to really kind of help you get going with this particular class. Now, this class is one of the bonus classes, so the panel did not come in your box, but it's definitely something you can purchase separately. I did post a link to that separate, and if you're an Elevate Club member, you get an extra discount on that at 20%. So you just need to check out your club guide there that you got with your box, and you'll get that extra 20% off. And I highly encourage you to take advantage of that. Get that template in and get practicing on this design, because I think you're going to love it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and have Shanna Rendon take it away. Shanna, I see you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will go ahead and have you take it away with your amazing pre-recorded video. We'll be here to answer any questions and post some links to those items again that we shared a moment ago. All right, thanks everyone.
Hi, I'm Shanna Rendon, and welcome to Arrows Block 13C. This is the project I'm going to do today. It is the Arrows Block 13C using this very light pastel panel. It's very pretty, and this is a very traditional design, and we're going to do it in a little bit different manner. I've stitched this design out before, and I've always used a circle template. But today we're going to use a back-to-back template. This is a different method, so let's give it a try. Instead of stitching circle after circle, we'll be stitching wavy lines, and we'll connect those lines to make them into circles. It's really fun. Our quilt kit even includes instructions for machine embroidery designs. And it shows one corner stitched out. So this is what it looks like on my project to have one part stitched out. And this is ruler quilting rather than embroidery. Yep, I went a little too far here. Just got a little overzealous. And today we'll stitch out so you can see what it looks like with the entire 4 squares of panel quilted. We have a stitch path to follow here. This is something we need to look at a little more closely, but we'll get to that. This is the template we'll be using. It is the back-to-back template, 1.5 by 1.5 and 1.5 by 2. We have 2 different sizes on this template. Okay. And we'll use these steps to stitch out the project. This is what it would look like for an all-over quilt. If you look back at the project that I'm currently working on, you can see that I have marked up my panel. The panel gives us the experience of what it might be like to stitch on patchwork, but if I had patchwork, I would have individual blocks and I would not have to make these markings. But since it's a panel, and I just want to show you how to stitch this out, and so I have drawn in all of the little patchwork blocks because we're going to be stitching designs that are 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And I just wanted to show you this panel. We'll be stitching on this today. And I have another panel out to show you how I am going to mark the project. Okay, so I've got panel and Soft and Stable, a by Annie product, by Annie Unrain, and I have some backing. But before I put the project together, I'm going to mark the panel, and I'm going to just mark on the panel and remove the backing and the Soft and Stable. I found out that I really wanted to have each individual 1.5 inch block marked. Okay, so I'm going to mark I'm going to use one of my quilting rulers to mark. Any straight ruler will work. And I chose this one because it's a 2.5 inch. And I'm just going to be able then to line up the edge of the ruler here, and I will have the 1.5 inches. So I can see right where I need to do the marking. Now, patchwork as well as panels are not always perfect. So I'm going to mark it more with where the color changes place rather than the precise 1.5 inch marks. So here we go. I'm going to mark just between these 2 blocks, 2 blocks here, and 4 blocks there. Square up my ruler so I have 1.5 inches here and a straight line along the color in the panel, and mark the center. So I can line up here and here. That's my 1.5 inches. 4 blocks here. So I just line up on that same line, and also this perpendicular line right here. And I am right at the edge of the little pink square. So I'll mark that one. Come over here and put the ruler on the panel and see just how close I am to the actual 1.5. And this is really, really close. So I'm going to make this. So I now have my individual 1.5 inch blocks. And I'll continue in that manner. For example, lining here. So I'm lined up here and here. So I can mark this little square. Or you could just take a larger ruler, aligning the ruler grid along the block or the color edges. I'll mark from top to bottom. And this is how I go around the panel and mark my 1.5 inch squares. And when we stitch it out, I think you'll be able to see it looks a little bit better if I can stitch it out using the marks. I did one stitch out where I just tried to wing it, and I didn't do so well. I'll show you what that looks like. So now I'd like to have the marks on my project. This is my winging it sample. I didn't mark any reference lines, so my circles didn't line up, especially around the edges. They're just not lining up evenly. So I switched to marking my panels with all the little blocks. So this is a different panel, but I just wanted to show you how I marked the panel we'll be stitching on. Ooh, this part is stitched out with the pink thread that was in the second quarter box. Well, I like experiments, and this being an experiment, I might do the 4 blocks in different colored thread, so you can just see what that might look like. See if there's a color of thread you prefer. Let's go to the machine. The Arrows quilt kit comes with the instructions, this panel, and a back-to-back template. Talk about that more in a minute. The pattern we're going to stitch out is a very classical pattern. It's an edge-to-edge design. This looks like orange peel or cathedral windows. I've heard this pattern called by those names. When I've stitched a pattern like this out before, I've always used a circle template, 1.5 inch circle template, and I could stitch this pattern with this template fairly easily. But we're going to use a different method, and it's something that I never thought of trying out before, and that is to use this template that has the waves or the curves. This is our back-to-back template. There are a total of 12 back-to-back templates with 24 different waves and curves. They're available in sets, or you can buy them separately. So taking a look at our template, well, I guess the first thing you notice is I have a lot of stable tape on it. This is a larger template. And I hold it in various different ways, so that's why I put the stable tape on where I did. And my stable tape is on both sides of the template because we're going to be using both sides of the template. And we'll be using this side to stitch half a circle. We're going to stitch half a circle here, and then we're going to stitch another half a circle here and continue. These have the 1/4 inch reference lines like we're accustomed to, but the spacing in here is not the regular 1 inch that we're accustomed to in the other templates. We'll talk about that a little more later on. At first glance, how could we be stitching the same curve, much less a circle or rows of interlocking circles with one side of this template. And yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. And that's the beauty of the templates working with the ruler foot. The ruler foot stitches along here on the inside of this concave shape, decreasing the size by 1/4 inch. And along here, the outside or convex curve, adding 1/4 inch to this side. Each template has 1 width and 2 depths. The curves on both sides of this template are 1.5 inches wide. The depth on the top is also 1.5 inches wide, and on the bottom it's only 0.75 or 3/4 of an inch wide. So this template is kind of unique in the back-to-back templates because it is 1.5 inches wide as well as 1.5 inches deep. So whenever you get a wave that it's equal this way and this way, you've got a circle. So we're going to make circles from our waves. It's really cool. And I guess the spacing here, that is going to line up with our 1.5 inch spacing that we're going to be doing for our blocks, because each individual block on our panel is 1.5 inch square. So the etched lines are 3/4 of an inch apart from one another. So it's going to make our spacing fairly easy. Let's look at the instructions. First page gives instructions for the embroidery version, the embroidery pattern. And I like to look at the embroidery patterns first off and see how they're laid out. Sometimes helps me just think about how I'm going to lay out the ruler work. And we see that we have the template. We're going to stitch this pattern, and gives us a couple of layout options. I'll be doing this one, and this is where our design becomes a little bit more interesting because we have some instructions. So the instructions begin with arrows indicate the stitching side and the horizontal curves. So in the instructions, these lines are tiny arrows marking each segment and letting us know which side of the template we're supposed to use. And the red line indicates which reference line we're going to need to use. So looking at this pattern, this diagram looks very complicated. But if you follow the arrows, this is giving us a grid type quilting pattern where we could stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. But we're not going to do that. But at least you have the instructions to show you how you might do that. But we can take the complicated looking diagram and simplify a great deal. These instructions are on the next page. We'll start in one corner and stitch 1/2 a circle. And that's what's in step B. You see the 1/2 that's already stitched. And then we'll just stitch the full length of our template. No overstitching, no backtracking. When we get to the place we want to stop the design, we simply flip the template over and stitch the full length of the template. And after that, you've got this beautiful row of circles. Let's just go to the machine and we can take a look at how it works. because we want to end up with something that looks like this. I stitched this out for practice, and because it was an experiment, I like to try different things. I stitched this out where my quilt sandwich and my batting is actually Soft and Stable, which is a product by Annie Unrain at Annie.com. Frequently uses it to line bags and totes and other things like that. And it really makes for nice texture. So I may try this again. Then I stitched one of the 4 blocks on the panel. So I stitched into one of my other 4 blocks, and I shouldn't have done that. I may continue experimenting and use different colors of thread in each of my 4 blocks. We'll see. This is the pretty pink thread that was in the club box for quarter 2, and it's the trilobal polyester embroidery thread by Wonderfill. So my next block I'm going to be stitching using purplish pink color. I put some ruler stickers on the template to remind me and to show you which side of the template to use, as well as to mark the horizontal reference line to complete a circle. These lines are 3/4 of an inch apart, so 2 lines is equal to 1.5 inch. Our circles are going to be 1.5 inches wide and 1.5 inches tall. Our blocks are each 1.5 inch square. So as we stitch, just line up this line, and we can also line up these little center lines, or these lines, on one edge of the block. So that will help keep it square, keep it very nice, because we're going to be stitching 4 half circles into each of these little squares, and we want all of our half circles to meet at one point. If they don't meet at one point, they look a little bit crooked, but I think they still look okay. So there are crooked ones in here. But the overall design looks so nice and adds so much texture. I just like it. I'm going to begin here, diagonal to the stitched block, and I'll be following the instructions that came in our quilt kit. So I will align my template as shown in step 1A. Align the reference lines on the template with the block outlines. Then place the ruler foot rest in the spot I want to begin stitching. So the template is currently in this position, and the reference lines that I'm going to be using are this reference line, and to line up my blocks, I'm going to use every other reference line. And this will easily help me line this up on my blocks. So I took off the arrows so that you can better see the etched lines that we're going to line up. Starting in this corner, I'm going to line up this etched line and this etched line. Pulled up the bobbin thread and going to stitch a couple of stitches, kind of small stitches. And stitch around and to the corner. And then to continue, just bring the template around and line up this etched line and this etched line. I'm just going to go ahead and follow the entire length of the template. Yeah, 4 blocks across and 4 blocks down, which is just perfect for the size of my template. So I will line up edged line here, here, and here. And I'm pausing or I'm stopping at each of the corners because I want to make sure so this was our quilting pattern here and then the entire length of the template. Now we'll flip the template over, flip it over and line it up like this. And when I get to that corner, my thread, one thread is on top of the other. I am also smushing a bit because as you put more stitches in, the quilt kind of shrinks up. And my stitching goes right into the corner. Yes. And we have our first row of circles. Now, finishing this design, all we have to do is repeat these 3 steps. Next, a half circle goes here, just like the first one, and then 2 rows of wave stitches will create more circles, and these circles will be overlapping. And one of the things I am looking for is so that my stitches meet at the corner. That's important because we're going to have 4 stitch lines intersecting not only at the center of each of the circles, but also at the edges of the circle or on the block lines that we've drawn. So as I'm stitching a wave, I'm stitching around. I pause right here. Do I need to readjust the ruler? Are the template reference lines correct on my fabric? Before I stitch here, and then again pause each time I have an intersection of the blocks, because I know that when I come back with the wave going the opposite direction, my stitches have to meet somewhere close to the corner. Line up the ruler foot for a half circle. And I want to stop right on my line. Then just swing the template around and align the ruler foot rest around the ruler foot. I'm also going to rotate my fabric to give you possibly a better view. 3 half circles are now going to be meeting in the center of this little block. I can just check here. This is a spacing gauge that I really like. It's a lot of tools in one. This is called Janet Collins, or Janet's tool from Janet Collins Designs, and it's easy to hold on to, and I just really enjoy using it. Okay. So I need to make sure that I'm going to come back to that line, and I have the etched line right along this block. Up. Right on the intersection, and then check here, and that looks good. And I stop at the intersection on the panel. So I just want to show you that I've got some straight-ish looking stitches here, but I didn't try to stitch straight. I was simply following the curve of the template, and I'm going to then come back and hit the intersection with another set of kind of straight-ish stitches, and that will make my circle. So again, I find my ruler foot rest, and if I put it like this, this would be the same pattern that I just stitched. So I'm going to flip it over, and I have this. So I have my equal and opposite curves. And again, I'm going to come up and touch here and here. So I want to have reference lines lined up, and I can see these reference lines are outlining the colored blocks. So I got kind of wonky. I got wonky here because I didn't meet it here. But we'll see how that goes. Okay. Well, I'm just going to put the template back on. And notice that I'm able to use the template stitching this direction. This is a template you want to be able to feel comfortable with the template behind the ruler foot as well as in front of the ruler foot and on either side. That just helps a lot. So put my ruler rest around the ruler foot. Okay, we have 3 rows of circles. Some wonkiness here shows that my lines didn't intersect or cross over one another at the corner of the blocks as they should have. but I'm looking very closely to find these boo-boos. Wait till we see what it looks like as the whole design is completed. So as we continue our design, like making our nice rows of circles, we're going to start again the same way, half a circle here, and we're going to make rows of circles, but they're going across the circles that we've already done. So wait till you see what it looks like when we sort of cross-hatch the circles that we've got. Just going to slip the template from behind the ruler foot and stitch half a circle. And now we're at the corner. So at this point, we'll begin again by stitching a half circle and then follow that with 2 waves. We have a new reference line to follow. That is the circle of our 1.5-inch block, because we can match it up now with the previous circle. I just stitched this, and we have 3 rows of vertical circles. So next we're going to have horizontal circles. Just put the template in place so that I can do horizontal rows. We have another reference point to look at here. Use a spacing gauge to make sure I'm going to stitch in the center right on that previous stitching. Then match the template reference lines with the fabric. Stitching my first half circle. I'm going to pause here just to double check with my spacing gauge. Yep, looks good. Reposition the template if I have to. I want to check the spacing gauge here too, because you can see where these stitches are on top of one another. I want to make sure that I'm going to stitch right over that intersection again. I have to adjust my template more now than when I stitched those first vertical rows. So all the stitches that I put in those rows shrink up the quilt some. So I slightly stretch or smush the fabric so the stitching can be on or as close as possible to the fabric reference lines. I want to end at the edge of my quilt block. That looks pretty good. Perhaps you can see better this way. Need to get a stitch or 2 closer. So now we just repeat the pattern, doing 1/2 a circle and then going down the entire row and coming back up. Oops. I don't know why I was moving that. So my needle is definitely in the corner, and I'm placed on the reference lines. I'll be able to meet this previous row of stitching here, but I am not going to be able to come to the end of the circle in the right spot. So what I have to do now is adjust the template, and I'll show you how I do that. I'm going to just begin to stitch, come all the way down, and when I touch the stitching where I needed to be, I'm just going to, at that point, slide my template very slightly so that I will come up here. This is just like when you're doing any other kind of circles or clamshells. When you need to make a change in the template placement, you need to smush a bit. You need to make the template stitching match your pattern, match your patchwork. You can make alterations when you're at the apex of the circle. So when you're at the outermost part of the circle, you can much more easily make a change when you're stitching between here and here. So get to the center, move it, the ruler foot over just slightly, and you'll be able to then more easily align the template reference mark with the fabric reference marks. Unknown to me, my camera glitched at this point and did not record the remaining stitches for this block. This is what it looked like stitched out, and go to the next video and you can see the stitch out of the next block. Sorry about that.
All right, we've got one more video for you as she kind of finalizes this design. So here we go.
This is the corner we just finished. I'm trying another experiment in the next corner, and that is, in addition to marking all the blocks, I'm marking the centers. And to do that, I just have my little 1-inch quilting ruler. My blocks are 1.5 inches square, so if I just put my ruler down here, lining up on the 3/4 inch line, then just mark. I want to see if it's faster and easier to stitch out, and if I can make half circles that are more the same size rather than some of the wonky ones I got with the last one. Got the back-to-back template, 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. We'll start here. So I'm going to put my needle down. Yeah, I'm going to put my needle down. Right in the corner, pull my bobbin thread up. Oh, I have changed the color of the embroidery thread. This is that pretty blue that we got in the first quarter box. It is an embroidery thread by Metler. A thread called Polysheen. So to do this square, I'm going to start off with a half circle here and then go down and back. I'll try to keep my project going the same direction and just manipulate the template so that you can see how this grid pattern works so easily. Okay. Needle down, thread brought up, lining up this etched line as well as the perpendicular line. And now I can also check to make sure that I'm going to hit the center. And we'll just see how this works. Looks okay. Now we need to stitch 2 wave stitches. So half circle, then 2 waves, and we'll have a half circle and circles. Okay. So the next step, it will be to bring my template around and put the ruler rest down, line up using my horizontal lines, perpendicular lines that mark the edges of the block, and I can check and see that I'm going to get close to the center. So I'm going to stop on the edge of the block, making sure that I'm going to hit that center. Here. Lining this up. Took a couple of stitches because I wasn't exactly on that corner. This is the ruler position to stitch the first wave. Now I just need to flip the template over and just place the ruler foot in the ruler foot rest. Line up my reference lines. Took another stitch back there. I think it might be easier to have the marks in the center. So there's our row of circles. So next step, a half circle and 2 more waves. This is a different method to hold the template. You can see that the template is too large to remain all on my fabric here. So I put the template in place and I'm only holding it on these 2 pieces of stable tape that can connect with my fabric so that the template won't drag on my glider. This is the clear glider from Sew Steady, Clear Advantage glider. Love it. I just had one little half circle to stitch, so that was pretty easy. Next, swing the template around, put it into place to stitch 2 waves. As I get more practice quilting this pattern, it becomes easier to just see the 1/4 inch, that space between the template and the reference marks. But keep your spacing gauge handy. I find it easiest to stitch a 1/4 of a circle, pause, readjust the template as needed, and then stitch the second 1/4 or the half of my circle. As the template needs just a little nudge here and there. So I want to make sure that I can hit those reference lines. Yes. Moving the template up because my little cross was there. So had I not had that, okay, flip the template. So I'm flipping it over to the other side. Okay. I can see that that's going to touch the last row of circles. Just moving the template slightly so that it will hit that row of circles. And that looks good. Oops, but I went a little far over there. So I'm going to move my needle to the corner so that I'll be lined up for the next one. Tweaking the template. Moving the template slightly. I missed the top. I just stitched over that. So all that remains is to do half circles here, along here, and back to here where we started. Lining up the marks. Looks good. Okay, get down in that corner. Get the thread tails out of the way. And just work my way around. I'm not going to be able to hit that circle because I didn't hit it on the first trip. Okay, well, let's see what we can do. I'm just going to slide the template over. Okay, that looks good. And slide the template just slightly. I'll finish up this corner, and my stitching should come right to this point where the other two blocks meet. Now just half circles along this row. Okay. So this is the section I just did, and previous section was here. I think I like the way the blue section looks, so I'm going to mark, yes, I'm going to mark the centers on this last block to just finish up. I have already a row of half circles done. So let me just break my threads. So in this section, the blue section, I was able to stitch the stitch path correctly so that I finished the block in the same place that I started. Just pull the bobbin thread up from the bottom and clip all the threads. I could leave the threads much longer and bury them. So I will finish up the third section, and I'll do that in the same way and be right back. This is my finished panel. The 4 blocks were stitched out separately, but you could easily stitch the entire thing without breaking your thread. This is the first block that I stitched out in this class, and this is the second block stitched out in this class. The lower left block was stitched before class. This last block was also stitched out of class. The only thing I tried differently here is the last block has a heavyweight thread, a 12 weight polyester thread by Wonderfil. I hope you enjoyed class, and I also hope you enjoy the back-to-back templates. They are a lot of fun. See you next time.
Thank you so much, Shauna. Honestly, I was mesmerized watching that. I feel like probably several of us were just sitting back watching the detail, the precision. I absolutely loved the different techniques that you showed and how to mark those blocks and really line up the template each and every time. Obviously, that 1/4 inch spacing gauge is essential for creating that design and really nailing it. But I thought you did amazing. And again, that's one of those template designs that I really, really perplexed me. So I thought it was really fun to be able to have that shared with everyone today. So thank you. Now, again, don't forget, we've got that live launch happening at 1 p.m. today. We're going to do some giveaways during it. We're going to be sharing what's new with Sarah Diddy and what she's going to be sharing with everybody in that awesome new box of hers. So please join us. Pam will be live tomorrow at 1 p.m. If you do want to go ahead and win that Sarah Diddy box, then don't forget to join us for taking advantage of that opportunity as well. And I will go ahead and post the link to go ahead and sign up to win. And then, you know, that it would be kind of fun to be able to get another box in the mail with goodies, including a new ruler templates, gorgeous fabric, more patterns, all of that. So when the Sarah Diddy box, we'll be announcing the winner after the live for the box, but there'll be some other fun stuff going on during the live because she's got new rulers, new embroidery collections, all of that we're going to be releasing today. So awesome. Well, again, thank you all for joining us. And thank you so much, Shauna, for sharing that amazing class with everyone today. And we'll look forward to seeing you again, hopefully later today. Bye-bye, everyone.